Ask perhaps you about the idea of intergenerational learning. What about youth learning something from their elders in terms of preserving their environment or keeping alive their cultures? Do you feel it's a mutually reinforcing process, or is this somehow against this idea of youth taking the future in their own hands?
Sharing, I see.
Well, in my view, a non-expert view, because this is really not my my topic, but maybe we just for discussion. I think there's a lot the youth can learn from elders, because we are moving from a generation where things were not so bad to a generation where we are recognizing that things are bad. So if things were not so bad in the past, then probably there were certain measures in place to keep them good, and maybe we can learn from this, or the youth of today could learn from this. But of course, the way we see societies are developing now, we see a huge gap between young people and old people, especially with modernization. Mm-hmm. If you come to rural areas in Africa, for example, you'll find where there is no generation gap in so many things, except, of course, things that has to do with morals, or with some particular taboos, maybe sex or those kind of things, yeah? But generally, when it comes to work on the farm, when it comes to managing the town where people live, you see, and it comes to also plays and social functions, you see a good mixture of youth and I mean of all ages. But we don't see this when societies get modernized, and you will see huge contrast in developed countries. One example here: if you register for football, you are most likely to play with your own age group only. Yeah, throughout, whether you are you're a teenager, it's going to be teenagers. If you are in your 20s, it's going to be 20s, and so there's really this difficulty. And you also see it even in public transportations. Elders are sitting in one place, the youth are in another place, just those age categories. And I think this is a major problem, and I really believe that the more we try to reduce this gap, the better society will become. So it's really a good point, and I think a platform like this should consider taking it seriously into consideration.
Very good.
Does the last row have anything to say? Our friends from Croatia?
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, you're in the last row. Gives you the last word.
My last word?
No, we may close it with you, you know, depending on how lively you are.
Actually, there's something that I definitely want to address here, which has to do with the fact that whether we are actually connecting the society back home. And most of the young people out there, they don't have the opportunity to come to some of these conferences. And it's very fundamental and important that when we get back to our various schools, when we get back to these young people and relate to what we have learned before, and then inspire them to become their own leaders today and of course of tomorrow. That is very, very important. Most of us might have come from a very democratic state, and it might be probably difficult to relate some of these, democratic values and democratic values and probably liberal core values to the society back home. But then probably one could start with a congressman, or probably one could start with your local representative. And then probably in every country you have a National Youth Council there, you can relate matter to them. It is very, very important. So if we come from some of these countries, it is very important we get back to the society, we get back to the young people that relate our what we learned there before, and then relate to them and work together and ensure that we have what we call a sustainability work and sustainability ability to see how best to transform our society into a very democratic work.
Johanna or our Croatian friends, would you like to say something? Ladies last is what I mean.
No, I just wanted to say
Well, not all the things that young people do are good either, huh?
Obviously, yeah, this is how we got here. But yeah, I mean, because our project, for example, relates to formal education, and we would like to see in schools that they learn about sustainable development, and that is, of course, after a group of experts meets and establishes a very good program, and that everyone agrees upon, and so on. But if they learn this in school and then they go at home and I don't know, they go out with their parents and the parent just throws the garbage on the green space, then that's not really something they should learn. So, obviously I mean, connecting with nature, looking back at more rural areas, as it was mentioned before, that's certainly important, because the way in which our ancestors connected with the land was much more powerful than it is today. But unfortunately, in many countries where several regimes have been in power, like obviously communism was one of them, they didn't lead to very good results. So I think they should select from what is available today in terms of what they can learn from their ancestors.
Thank you. Sandra?
I think the most important thing would be when young people are learning from the elders to question everything and to basically learn how to think for themselves and to question everything in a sense what is good for. Maybe some things were good 50 years ago, but they aren't good anymore, because we as societies have moved so much forward and things have changed in so many ways. Certain things just have to be changed, and that's one thing. And the other thing, I think what youth can learn from the elders, but probably more the other way around, is to learn how to adopt quickly. So that once we have changes, like it took us quite a few decades to adopt to the fact that climate change is there and that it's impacted by humans and that it's caused by humans, that it's not like some kind of myth. And I think if we maybe haven't spent decades trying to persuade most of the people that climate change is real, we would have been better off. And in the future, if we could somehow shrink the time space needed for the mainstream to understand certain changes, that should be the main goal, probably.
Would you be interested in a Skype conversation on June 6th with a group of people from Croatia or Romania?
Yes, of course.
I know Hugo wanted to say something. You did?
No, actually, I just wanted to say what he has said, that the challenge is not in learning, it's actually in doing. And one should not be afraid to learn. Because you can learn what is bad and get experience from that. But then you do what is good.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Joanna, do you want the last word?
Actually, sure.
Sure.
That's the right attitude.
When I started, I really agree with the points to also that we have to include more the young people as well, and we have to bring elderly together with the young people. And what first came up to my mind is I think it's not the problem of, not so much the problem that we don't have these people together, because I think nowadays we have much more events and much more opportunities where young people can actually engage with elderly people as well, but it's much more what, for me in particular, it's very interesting that there is still always this hierarchy, and very often when you have these platforms where you have different generations, the elderly very often establish themselves as a little bit upper, and they're like the moderators, or they're then the ones like leading the discussion, and the youth is more like responding, and that's what I don't like, because it's more, I think it has to be like really from both sides that the discussions can be led as well, so that all the innovative ideas and the structure can also come from the youth, and we have to really challenge these hierarchies to actually be able to establish a dialogue on the same eyesight.
Very good.
Thank you. I think.
Is this finished, or does Slavomir have something to say? No.